Continue to follow the breaking news out of Happy Valley, where Penn State is hiring Iowa State's Matt Campbell as their new head coach. That's according to our Matt Zenitz. Campbell has been with the Cyclones for the past 10 seasons, school's all-time wins leader, three-time Big 12 Coach of the Year, a guy who has turned the program into a competitive one, 72-55 in 10 seasons with the Cyclones, now looking to make his mark with Penn State and get the program back on track after firing James Franklin some 8 weeks ago. Reaction continues to pour in, and we are pleased to welcome in former Penn State linebacker and six-year NFL vet, Jason Cabinda. Jason, good to be with you here. Your reaction to the hiring of Matt Campbell is what?
I think it's not a great hire. It's not a bad hire. I think it's a good hire. I think Matt is a guy who has shown that he deserves his shot. I think he's a guy who has shown that he can do a lot with a little. When you look at his tenures between Toledo, between what he's been able to accomplish over at Iowa State, as really marked history there in terms of some of the finishes they've had in the rankings, over his years there. So I think he's a guy that will be able to take a brand like Penn State and recruit very well and get the star power that Penn State is normally able to get, with its brand and name and its culture and tradition, and see, what he's really made out of when he has that level of talent at his disposal.
You played for James Franklin, didn't work out in the end. Penn State against top 10 teams, 4-21 under James Franklin. They were failing to win the big games, right? So they move on from James Franklin. A lot of people were calling for the interim coach, Terry Smith, to be promoted, including guys like Micah Parsons. I know you like Terry Smith as well. When you look at what Matt Campbell is facing, right? And you've got to go out and recruit against the big boys in Ohio State and Michigan, USC now, Oregon now in the Big Ten. What is he up against, as you know that conference very, very well?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it starts at home. Pennsylvania is a strong football state, and it starts with making sure you're out recruiting, the Pitts of the world, the Rutgers, the Marylands, the DMV area. That's one thing that Coach Franklin did a really, really good job of. He had quite a lock on the DMV area. And that's kind of one of those things that's going to affect, Penn State, as well as you got James Franklin going to Virginia Tech, an also respected program, and you have his recruiting star power there. I think that school is going to affect Penn State even more so than Ohio State and Michigan, just from a proximity standpoint. So, that's what he's going up against. I would hope that a lot of these college football programs start to follow the structure of having coach and GM, because I think it will allow the coaches to be football coaches instead of having to be the star in the media and in the recruiting and literally everywhere, But we'll see. At the end of the day, Penn State has resources at its disposal. They've been doing well in NIL as of late. And I think he's going to be able to steer this ship in the right direction.
Jason, if there's a player out there that's considering Penn State, and now the head coach is in place in Matt Campbell, what are you telling that player if he's choosing between Penn State and, let's say, another top 10 program? What would your message be to that player?
I think number one, Penn State for me was not a 4-year decision. It was a 40-year decision. And I think, when you have a Penn State degree, there is a level of respect. There's a level of access because of how large our alumni network is. And not only that, you're going to go to a school where you play big-time football, where you have high up in academics, and as well as a social environment, to have fun and enjoy college. And then at the same time, you're going to have coaches and people around you that care about you and care about making sure you become a great man, a great husband, a great father, a great businessman, even more so than what you're able to do on the field. And I think for me, that's what, that family feeling is about. That's what Penn State is, the tradition, the culture, and just, being around a bunch of selfless people who truly play for the name on the front and not the name on the back. And that's why we don't have them on the back.
It's a different era, of course.
That's who we are.
Because, if you were in the NIL era, you'd be getting paid. And look, now you got a situation here where the portal opens in January. You got a second signing day coming up. There's time to fix this, even with only 2 commits right now in the class of 2026. So where are you feeling right now as an alum that you can turn this around pretty quickly?
I would like to gauge expectations just with where we are at right now. I do think it is alarming to only have 2 commits now with the new early signing day. I understand we still have another signing day coming up here, but obviously between James Franklin taking as many recruits as he did with him to Virginia Tech, and the allowance of allowing there to be so much vagueness and no transparency and kind of the direction of the program and not having a coach for this long. And I think that definitely wears on recruits because recruits want stability. They want to know who they're committing to and things of that nature. So I think it is an uphill battle. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if, this first year, just from a Band-Aid standpoint, when you look at the roster between seniors moving on and how many commits we've lost, I expect a large haul this year that comes in for the transfer portal. And if we don't see direct results, and we don't see the immediate upkeeping of what we expect a Penn State recruiting class to look like, then I see the transfer portal being more of a norm at a Penn State, which is one thing I thought Coach Franklin was doing such a good job of, is making sure a lot of our players were homegrown and we relied on transfer portal out of true necessity. So we'll see how that plays out for Penn State moving forward.
Former Penn State linebacker and 6-year NFL vet Jason Cabinda here with us on CBS Sports HQ. Jason, thanks for the time. Appreciate the conversation here, giving us your perspective. Hey, we're going to temper the expectations, but hey, I know that Nittany Lions fans, they're going to be excited about having a guy in place and having the chance to compete with a guy who certainly turned things around at his last school at Iowa State. Jason, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
So, here's what Penn State is getting. Get an Ohio guy, had to work that in, from Massillon. Played at Pitt, played at Mount Union, coached at Toledo, went on to Iowa State, 3-time Big 12 Coach of the Year, all-time wins leader at Iowa State. And look, now he's going to try to come to Happy Valley and get this program back on track. Matt Campbell, the new head coach at Penn State.